This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. I am Dr. Duke, and I'm joined today by Dr. Jake Jacobs. Jake.
Hello, Duke of Earl.
Welcome to the show, Jake of Appleton. So our first videos today, what would we do without the everlasting month of June? Pride month really started in mid-May, and now they're talking about the summer of Pride.
But this is June is dairy month, and we're in Wisconsin, America's dairy land, so it's very moving. Just remember, the Holstein is black and white, and this issue is black and white as far as I'm concerned.
We have a horrible story from California. California high school teacher very dramatically instructs students on how to get pleasure from anal sex, how to buy sex toys, especially for how boys and men can use anal sex for pleasure. I think the best thing to do is just show the revolting video, and then we can talk about it.
So you don't have to go inside the booty hole. You can actually just push on the seam, and that stimulates the prostate gland as well. And that they apparently really like that. But yeah, so that's why for male and male, anal sex is still very pleasurable because of the fact that it hits the prostate, and there's a lot of nerve endings in your booty as well. So the girls, the G-spot, prostate, they're the equivalent to each other, but apparently that's why if you ever see, like, I mean, Target has them now, sex toys. If you go to Target, seriously, if you go to Target and go where the tampons and pads are, they just look like a little box, but if you open up, there's like a Velcro front to the box, you open it up, and then bam, sex toy. And you'll see them. CVS, yes, CVS has them too, a lot of them.
Yeah, so what is the purpose of this in public school? Seriously. So now, and notice the very opening statement. The booty hole is now the rectum. So the rectum now is the seat of sexual pleasure. Notice how she also said that the G-spot in girls and the prostate in boys was effectively the same thing when it came to sexual pleasure. So already this so-called medically accurate, affirming kind of sex ed is wandering into territory that is completely full of garbage.
Duke, I feel like Rip Van Winkle. As you know, I've been in the classroom since 1977, just recently retired, woke up into this woke world of madness and insanity. Now, this is interesting because the California Board of Education established a comprehensive sex education, and so they called it the California Healthy Youth Act, where these teachers can teach this perversion, and you could hear the kids in the background. They were giggling, they were laughing. They know they're being played with.
Yeah, so by the way, healthy means sticking fingers and toys and penises and rectums. Just so we're all on the same page. Here's the comprehensive sexual health and HIV/AIDS instruction from the state of California that Jake mentioned. Information on comprehensive sexual health education and HIV prevention includes legal requirements for education in these areas and additional resources for quality instructional programs. This was enacted on January 1st, 2016. This is already 7 years old. This law integrates the instruction of comprehensive sexual health education and HIV prevention. Notice how that's how they get you, right? In order to stop HIV, we have to teach people to put penises in rectums. Does that sound right, Jake? No, seriously. Is that sound right to you? Throw that up one more time, Mike. And throw up is the right word. Enacted in 2016, the law integrates the instruction of comprehensive sex ed. The bill, renamed the California Comprehensive Sexual Health and HIV/AIDS Prevention Education Act, the bill requires school districts to ensure that all pupils in grades 7 to 12, inclusive, receive comprehensive sexual health education and HIV prevention education. I go back to my not largely sarcastic comment. We know that AIDS is spread much more easily in anal sex than it is other forms of sex, especially for men. When men have sex with women, it's much harder for the man to get AIDS than the woman. And in this case, anal sex is the most dangerous when it comes to HIV. So how are we justifying what you saw in that video? A creepy adult teacher sitting cross-legged on her desk, talking to children, young people, about this kind of weird pleasuring, and the whole thing is absolutely a sign of the times, I would say, Jake.
You know, it's a sad side of the times. This was in Placentia, California, which is south of L.A., right? It's near Anaheim.
Well,
I know you're going to think this is goofy, but by Disneyland. And this culture is permeated like madness in California. In fact, north in Glendale, the Glendale School District, they just 2 days ago had the Antifa of Southern California call for demonstrations against parents who were upset because in the curricula and within the school, they were celebrating June Pride Month. So a lot of the parents, the communities are heavily Armenian and Hispanic, and they come from a Catholic Christian background, both groups. And they had serious problems with this perversion being taught. The elementary school in the Glendale School District, 40% of the students were taken out. Now, if it's up, you and I have been saying, don't take them out for a day or two. Take them out forever. Get them, homeschool them. Private schools, Christian schools, but not within the government schools, which are teaching this perversion. And by the way, the assistant principal of the Glendale School District said, by default, every person in the school district is queer and socialist. And the revolutionary communists were there screaming at these parents, calling them Christo-fascist. Like, you can't make this stuff up.
And notice what the left has done that no one's talking about, Jake. Socialism is queer. This is the point. Why? Not because socialists really care about sexual preference, but because this is one more ally in the fight against traditional America. That includes capitalism and Christianity and the Constitution. So any radical group like the LGBTQ who wants to fly its own flags, whose flags are now more ubiquitous in public schools than American flags, anybody who wants to revolt is going to be a friend of these socialists.
You are absolutely spot on. You know, we talk about critical theory. You talk about Derek Bell's critical race theory. Well, this is critical sexual theory. This is, in essence, taking the perversion of Kinsey, of John Money from Johns Hopkins University, who created this gender identification malarkey. In essence, what it is, it's to wear down our republic under God. And when I came into the studio, Duke, and I said, Duke, it's all around us. It's on billboards as I drove here. There are flags flying throughout the streets of this little area in Wisconsin. It is permeated, saturated the culture, the society, and I don't know what we do to get out of this.
I don't know that we do, but I would like to read to you, if you heard the video is a little grainy, if you wanted to hear what the teacher actually said, quote, "You don't have to go inside the booty hole. You can actually just push on the seam." I assume I think we have a sense of what that is, and that stimulates the prostate gland. I love this, gay dudes, they apparently really like that. And if we're going to play this game, why is a cisgendered woman actually telling these kids what pleasures gay men? I mean, isn't that as insulting? Isn't that a cultural appropriation? She goes on to say, rather embarrassingly, quote, "So that's why for male and male, anal sex is still very pleasurable." So are we led to believe by this, because men have a prostate, then anal sex is pleasurable for men? Which, no. And secondarily, does that mean that women should not have it? Because women don't have that? If women don't have a prostate, does that mean that anal sex is something that we should warn women not to do?
Duke,
am I going too far down this particular rabbit hole?
I didn't pick this topic. I'm like, I cannot believe this.
Well, I didn't pick it either. How did we end up here?
I think producer Mike did.
There you go.
He wanted to see me squirm. Unreal.
Well, it wouldn't be as much squirming. Never mind. Never mind.
No, but it goes to show you this polymorphous perversity that the Frankfurt Marxists talked about. When you go back to Freud and Herbert Marcuse and Theodor Adorno, all these people from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they understood that the Achilles heel of American Christian society was in that world of sexuality, the redefinition of gender, of male and female, the redefinition of normal sexual or behavior to the point where it is polymorphous perversity.
Yeah, this is El Dorado High School, by the way. And you mentioned that it's in Placentia, California, which cracks me up because there's going to be no babies born, no placentas activated in this new this anal regime, right? This is I mean, seriously, we're basically being told that rectal sex, anal sex, is more natural and normal than any other kind of sex.
And you know what really it angers me is that this is being told to our kids in schools. This is why you, Alex Newman, and others, and I have finally joined the bandwagon, so to speak, have been saying, get your kids out of government-run schools. They are they're the tipping point of what's happening in this country.
Yep, and following those updated California sex laws that we mentioned to you, hundreds of parents and residents of California communities expressed their deep opposition to the LGBTQ framework, to the Instructional Quality Commission, which is an advisory board to the state, and these protests were widespread. The concerned community members took issue over the curriculum that addresses the sexual health of lesbian, gay, bisexual, or trans students and those questioning their sexual identities. The video of the El Dorado High School teacher discussing this was also shared on Twitter to immense scrutiny. There are a lot of people that are really, really fighting this, and the problem is that, as we said many times on this show, my good moms and dads have to realize you do not have any access into the public schools. There's no way, at no level, the local, the state, the federal level, where you can actually find allies who will help you push back from inside. So the answer, again, Jake, as we said a million times, is that you got to get them out.
You got to get them out.
You can't change this. You can't fix this anymore. I repeat what I said, and I stand by this. To the progressive left, who controls most of our culture, what we would call deviant sex is now normal sex. Vaginal sex between a man and a woman is now heteronormative. It is exclusive. It doesn't take into account the legitimacy of all other forms of sex. So there's only one kind of sex that is actually threatening to the progressive left, and that's sex that leads to children.
Duke, really, when you think of it, when you go back into antiquity, when you think of the sexual perversions of Babylon, Assyria, the
Roman
Egyptians, the Roman Empire, even that which permeated within the house of Israel, Solomon, and worship unto, the sex deities, Moloch and others. This really is a modern manifestation of that which has been around a long time.
Yeah, and one of the Twitter readers of this protesters actually said something very much like I just said, quote, "It's kink ed at this point. When did reproductive education change into sex ed?" And that's what I was trying to articulate, much more articulate in the tweet. Sex ed has nothing to do with reproduction or biology anymore.
Yep.
It's simply about scratching that base animal itch. And simply because the prostate has a lot of nerve endings, that's why it's pleasurable and normal. By that argument, couldn't you say that the eye has a lot of nerves in it? I mean, there are other places, all kinds of places in the body, all kinds of places where there are a lot of nerve endings. So does that immediately mean? Yes, it does. That the whole body is one great big sexual organ. And as the Twitter person says, this is now normative sex. We do not, reproductive sex has nothing to do with what this is.
Wow. I'm speechless, Duke. I can't believe this is happening in my country.
Well, is it your country or is it theirs now?
Yeah.
Right. And what's really alarming about this is a really tolerant country, even though the left insists it's not, because nobody really cares what you do as an adult. There's nobody, not a single person I can think of, who's out there arguing that what people do in their own homes, what they do in their personal lives, what they want to get cut off their body if they're over the age of 21, nobody cares. You want to dress like a woman, knock yourself out. Nobody cares. But it's the forcing this into public schools, making kids have to sit there. These are kids. This is California. You know that these kids are reading below average. They are writing below average. They are doing math way below where they should be. You know that. And so you're spending how much time under the law of California, in and out, day and day, year and year, from 7th grade all the way every year through high school, over and over again, this completely reckless physical addiction to the itch of sex. That's all it is.
Wow. It's the recreation of Homo sapien into
Homo?
Ho-
Right. I mean, well, isn't that?
No, yeah, no, you're right.
Isn't that? I mean, that was kind of a snarky comment. But
Yeah.
what would be the Latin for this? Homo, right?
Yeah.
That the evolved man is gay. That seems to be the argument that's being we've left behind the brutish ideology of man and woman and baby and the nuclear family. We've evolved from Homo sapiens to Homo homus, right? And if you throw in
Homo
there,
erectus.
I was about the same thing.
Gotcha.
Isn't that even better? I was right about on the verge of saying that. You hit the buzzer right before me.
First time I beat you on that one, Duke.
Homo erectus indeed is the perfect descriptor for this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Freedom Project Academy. Take back your kids' education. FPA's fully accredited classical curriculum provides live, on-demand, and homeschool courses built on Judeo-Christian values. Request your information packet and save 10% on tuition by visiting freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
So from California to New York now, Pride Month is largely underway. We talked about in the first segment. If you missed it, go back and watch it, please. How what is a month dedicated to the LGBTQ actually got started in mid-May, and now they're talking about they want to have the summer of LGBTQ, and this is how these viruses actually spread. And so the world, the Western world anyway, is consumed by this. And so now we have a story about residents from a suburb of Buffalo named Hamburg, New York. The residents there were upset when the town pulled down seemingly the POW MIA banner and replaced it with the LGBTQ one. So Hamburg, New York's Coalition for Equity and Inclusion, isn't it always, raised the pride flag at the building on Friday. To mark the beginning of the month, that flag replaced the POW MIA flag, prompting one member of the town board to note her disapproval on Facebook, which is why we know about this. And so I asked the question, why do you have to remove the POW flag to honor this flag?
Well, because in essence, what they're doing is they're trying to destroy the very social structure of what made America great, and the military happens to be one of the things that have made this nation great. I mean, we were the liberators of Europe from National Socialism, and many men died and gave the ultimate sacrifice to liberate Europe, to liberate Asia from Imperial Japanese. And so to these hardcore leftists, these wokeocrats, any way they can destroy a great institution like the U.S. military, I mean, it's permeating in the military right now as we speak, Duke.
Well, to the left, the destruction of Japan was imperialism, right?
Yeah.
And the war against Germany was colonialism, right? And so D-Day and Memorial Day these days are really remembrance of warlike, genocidal American history. And of course, as we know, has been drilled into our heads, LGBTQ is all about love. They're not bullies. They're not censors. They're not cancel culture people. They're not mobs of thugs, right? Bullying moms and dads outside of abortion clinics who are forcing their filthy ideologies into 5 and 6 and 10-year-old children. No. That has nothing to do with anything, right? They're the ones about love. And if a loving parent wants to protect their kids from this, at least until they're old enough to make their own decisions, well, that makes you a hateful mom and dad as well. We do have a video, and you're going to hear from officials that, we only took down the POW flag because it was tattered and blah, blah, blah. But take a look for yourself.
When you see them up close, you see the damage that our strong winds in winter. There's folks that were concerned that the POW flag was down, and there were folks that were concerned that the pride flag was up. So moving forward, the folks that were concerned about the POW flag, it's back up. I'm glad that was rectified. For the folks that are concerned that the pride flag is up, well, we're an inclusive community. The pride flag, the POW flag, and the American flag are for all Americans. They are all inclusive flags, and we will fly the pride flag through the month of June.
That is not true, sir. The POW flag is inclusive. We all mourn the loss of those soldiers. The American flag is truly inclusive. It includes everybody, including gay people under its banner. The pride flag has nothing to do with any of those things. Why that by argument? There are way more Christians than there are gay people in this country. Why not that flag? It is outrageous for you to make those kind of lies. You smug apparatchik. We're an inclusive. They all represent the same thing. You have your definitions wrong. You do not know what you're talking about. You can tickle yourself, your ambition and your venality, and pretend that somehow you're an inclusive person by making these kinds of lies. There are thousands of flags you could fly that don't belong on the pole with the American flag and the POW flag. There's all kinds of things you could fly, but you don't. This is the one you put up there because you are virtue signaling, because you are arguing something that is obviously not true. And those kind of lies have to be called out, Jake.
Well, Duke, I hope you took your blood pressure pills because, dude, I mean, you are righteous indignation, and rightfully so. You know, when I think of the symbol for my show, the One Nation, is the raising of the flag at Iwo Jima. 3 of those 6 men gave the ultimate sacrifice, and they died to liberate Asia from Imperial Japanese. And in the meantime, in 2015, when the Supreme Court had the Marriage Equity Act or law get passed or whatever, there were the gay community, LGBT community, raising the gay flag, the pride flag, like it was Iwo Jima. I too was incensed by that. They go after the symbols because the symbols represent the very core of what makes this republic under God great. That's why now we see them flying. Department of Defense has Pride Month celebration. They pay tribute. You can go right on their website in the Department of Defense. U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force. We wonder why recruitment is at an all-time low now.
Show the image from the Air Force, Mike.
And this is one of many, by the way. This is one of many that are out there right now. And you go onto their websites and you can see salutes with the rainbow flag on their hand, and they insult the U.S. military and those who are killed in action and are still missing in action.
Yeah, on the bodies of those dead and that pennant that represents the missing and the POW, you are turning that into one more free commercial time advertising for the LGBTQ. Take a look at the picture one more time. This is the official Twitter page of the American Armed Forces, particularly the Air Force is what this is. This is exactly what they have up there. Let's let one veteran sum this up. One veteran who was upset stated, quote, "I have no problem with the pride flag, but I do not think it belongs anywhere on the same pole as the American flag with the POW. Sorry, it's wrong. I said that a moment ago, much louder, but he's exactly right. You want to fly your flags, fly them. You want to put the flag in your windows. You want to build a second smaller flagpole to wave that flag, do it. But you don't do it at the expense of the American flag, because I can think of all kinds of other worthy issues, more inclusive. How about fighting cancer? That's more important than the LGBTQ's flag. But you wouldn't put that up there, and you wouldn't ever think to put that flag up there on National Fight Cancer Day. This is pure, what's the word for it, Jake? Pandering. It's pandering to a political cause because you realize that you're going to get a lot of virtue points for doing it. Jake, you get the last word.
Duke, we got to mention what's going on in San Francisco. Producer Mike, do we have that real quick?
There you go. And was it my imagination, or was the LGBTQ flag in that last image about 3 times the size of the American flag? Yeah? Yeah, it was. That's going to wrap up this show. If you have any comments, questions, or you want to support the show, simply visit drdukeshow.com. For all of us here at the Dr. Duke Show, thanks. We'll see you next time.